Hi, everybody. It's Lori here again with Weh Vacations. As you may or may not know, I am taking a group, or I am sending a group to Peru this August. It's an amazing journey put on by National Geographic Journeys and G-Adventures. And I have with me today Gary Armstrong, and he's going to just give you an overview of exactly what's going to happen on the tour and what you're going to be expecting on the tour. So Gary, thank you very much for joining us.
My pleasure. Thanks so much, Laurie. Peru is my favorite topic of conversation, and I've done a very similar Nat Geo Journeys trip. It was the Explore Machu Picchu itinerary, and I'm a little bit jealous of everybody going on this itinerary because you get to visit the Amazon as well. And that's like a reason for me to go back to Peru in the future. Is I really want to check out our jungle lodge and learn more about that part of this amazing destination, this beautiful country. So thank all of you for spending the time to learn a little bit more about the group that Laurie is putting on with our Nat Geo Journeys, Machu Picchu and the Amazon. What I'll do is just a quick overview of the inclusions in the trip, everything that's going to be happening, the day by day, and the different things that you'll be doing, and talk a little bit about the Lares trek as well. So we are a trekking company in Peru. We offer a number of different treks in the region. G-Adventures is the largest operator on the Inca Trail, and we're recognized as the best operator on Inca by the Ministry of Tourism in Cusco, and they are the people you need to impress. But you know, I like recommending the Lares trek for a number of reasons that I'll get to when I start going through that portion of the itinerary. I would say that recognition from the Ministry of Tourism is indicative of all of the stuff that we do in Peru, that we are just best at it. Of course, I'm horribly biased, but having been to the region on a number of occasions, it's a fantastic place to go. If you haven't been to Peru, just take a trip, because it is going to be definitely worth your time to go and see this region. So we'll cover some of the parts of the itinerary. So you start in Lima, and Lima is a beautiful place. We fly you into the Amazon jungle, and you spend some time in our custom-built jungle lodge. Then we take you to Cusco, and that's where you're going to start learning a bit more about what it's like to be at a very high altitude for a prolonged period of time. And then you're doing the hike from Lares town through to Ollantaytambo, and then we get you on the train up to Aguascalientes, where you'll then have the opportunity to explore one of the 7 wonders of the world, Machu Picchu, before returning to Cusco. There's a few exclusives as part of this itinerary with National Geographic. So you're visiting the Cusco Planetarium, which I've done, and it was fantastic. You've never met a group of more excited and passionate and really educated people than the people who work at that planetarium just outside of Cusco. And then the Andean experience as well. When you're in the Sacred Valley, we take you up to Parque de la Papa in Urubamba, and you learn about potatoes. I'll get to more on the exclusives in a little bit. And so a number of G for Good projects there as well. The Parque de la Papa, the Pawa Community Restaurant, which is the best meal, one of the best meals you will have in Peru. Peru is world renowned for its food. And then also, because of the Lares trek, you actually stay at the Cacani Community Campsite while you're hiking through the region too. So I'll go through a little bit more of the information on each part of this itinerary. And of course, this is what many people associate with Peru, Machu Picchu. It is beautiful, but there are so many highlights to visiting this part of the world and visiting this country over and above the Inca's most sacred site. And it starts in Lima. So Lima is a city of over 9 million people. There is lots to do in Lima. Speak to Laurie, and you have the opportunity to fly in a little bit early and spend some time in Lima. If you're a surfer, the surf in Lima is fantastic. I didn't know this until I got there, but there's some great waves on the coast. The city is magnificent. There's a lot of different activities that you can do. The hotels that we use are in Miraflores, and it's like a 5-minute walk to the coast where you can get some great views along the coastline. That middle picture at the bottom, you know, you can walk along the kind of the promenade along the beach there and get to the the Parc de l'Amour, and you can see the statue there. And the joke is that you have to recreate that statue when you're in the region. And so that was when I was there with a group of colleagues, and everybody's kind of standing around and feeling awkward. And then, I took the picture and got home later, and lo and behold, in the background, you can see some people who are mimicking the statue there. But there's tons to do while you're in Miraflores. The picture on the right there, there's a giant pre-Incan civilization. Basically, it's a city within a city that you can explore and learn more about some of the earliest indigenous peoples and cultures that were populating this part of the globe, hundreds, if not thousands of years ago. But you can also explore the colonial architecture of Lima as well. Take a taxi into the center of town and go and visit the catacombs underneath the cathedrals there. So there is lots to do in Lima. It's not just the start point of your trip into the rest of Peru. It is a beautiful place to spend more time. Once you've had the arrival meeting there in Lima at the hotel, and you've met your CEO, your Chief Experience Officer, your guide for the next couple of weeks, we fly you into Puerto Maldonado, in the heart of the Amazon rainforest, the Amazon jungle. You board a motorized canoe, and we take you up the Tambopata River for a 3-hour. Well, it's amazing the wildlife that you'll see just on the way to the Jungle Lodge. And then once you're at the Jungle Lodge, the chance to kind of settle in and stay in a property that is basic but comfortable. There is no electricity full time in this Jungle Lodge because we just don't want to cart the diesel into the middle of the Amazon jungle. So take your flashlights, charge your batteries before you get there for your cameras, and you'll spend the next couple of days exploring the fauna and the flora of the region, learning about how people have lived in this part of the Amazon rainforest for hundreds and thousands of years, and some of the local culture of the indigenous peoples that make up this region. And so a great opportunity to learn about the history of the people and the culture, but also learn more about the wildlife. I hear that there's a fantastic watering hole just kind of outside of the Jungle Lodge, where there are a lot of black caiman crocodiles that hang out. Obviously, large numbers of exotic birds and other wildlife there, and just beautiful scenery and a beautiful way to start your trip and learn more about some of the different ecosystems that make up Peru. One of the reasons why Peru is such a popular destination is that it has almost every climatic zone within its borders that we have on the face of the planet. Everything from the lush biodiversity of the Amazon basin and the Amazon rainforest to the potatoes that are grown in the desert like high Andes, to the actual sand dunes and deserts that they have on the west coast. So just a beautiful way to learn more about another climatic zone within the region. But then we're flying you to Cusco. And this is where you're going to start learning about altitude and how that's going to affect your body. I wouldn't worry too much about it. There are fantastic medications that you can get from your travel doctor before you go that will help with altitude sickness. Personally, I just chew the coca leaf. If it's good enough for the locals, it's good enough for me. And that can really help with some of the symptoms that you get if you're struggling with the drop in oxygen content in the air in Cusco. And so it's just one of those things. You just take it steady, slow and steady wins the race when you're in Cusco. Just slow down and take your time, and you're going to be fine. Cusco is beautiful in and of itself. It is the capital of the Inca Empire back in the day. When the conquistadors showed up, they knocked down all of the ancient Incan temples and built these beautiful 16th century cathedrals on top to kind of show their dominance over the local people, and also begin the process of converting them to their religion. It is a fascinating place to explore, a wonderful place to spend more time, and you have some free time there. And then you'll go to the Cusco Planetarium, which I mentioned, and learn more about the night sky, about the black llama in the sky, the reason why the region is called the Sacred Valley, and have the chance to do some stargazing as well if it's a clear night while you're there. And we were very lucky. I had the chance to kind of look at a couple of stars and also a distant galaxy as well, which was cool. So for those amateur astronomers amongst you, it'll be a really great addition. And this is one of the National Geographic exclusive moments on this trip. And then the next day, we transfer you to the Sacred Valley. So you get to learn more about just the beautiful landscapes in the region as we drive you up to Urubamba. And that's where you'll visit the Parc de la Papa. This is in partnership with National Geographic as well. Nat Geo have been working with a number of small communities in the high Andes and Urubamba to help preserve the over 2,000 varieties of potato that they have there. So it doesn't sound fascinating, but it really is, to learn about all of the different varieties of potato. These farmers have ties directly with the Svalbard Seed Bank to help preserve the amazing variety of potatoes that they have. Because, in the West, we very much have monoculture, whereas there's a real concerted effort to make sure that we're preserving all these different species of potato, which is part of the legacy of the Inca people and the pre-Inca people, and their ability to, divide strains and create all these different varieties of potato. So you'll learn about the potatoes in the region, but then you'll also learn about the traditional weaving practices of the Quechua people today, the beautiful tapestries and hats and blankets and ponchos and gloves that they're able to make. I have a really beautiful scarf that I picked up while I was visiting the Andean experience, and it's been minus 20 quite a lot this year in Calgary, and so I've been wearing it pretty much nonstop. It is very practical, but you'll also get an instruction on, this is where we harvest the wool, this is how we clean the wool and wash it with the roots of a plant that grows in the high Andes, and then the different dyes that they use and how they make those dyes, and then the weaving process itself. Just by going and visiting this project, you're helping to support the local community and the people that make it up. And then, of course, you do have the opportunity to purchase items directly from the people who have made them as well, and have that real positive impact on the local economy and community too. A real highlight for me while I was there, you go way up into the mountains, and it's a beautiful drive, and then you get this amazing experience while you're up there as well. It's pretty hungry work learning about potatoes and the beautiful tapestries and weavings that they have in this part of the world. And so after that, we take you to the Pawa restaurant. This is another one of our non-profit partner Planetera projects in the region, where we've partnered with a local community to help them showcase the fantastic culinary achievements of the region. And so the best thing about Pawa is the delicious food, but it's also a training kitchen for the people in the local community. All the proceeds from the meals at this restaurant go to the local community. This is the first Planetera project that has donated to Planetera. So they're actually coming full circle and donating back to the organization that helped to found the business in the first place. And the local community has also opened up a new computer lab in the local high school. And so, residents of this extremely remote and, impoverished community in the middle of nowhere in the Sacred Valley in Peru, the kids in this region now have the opportunity to learn digital literacy skills, which are as important today as reading, writing, and arithmetic were in the last century. And so, just one of the ways that G-Adventures is ensuring that travel and tourism is having a positive impact, and the benefits, the economic benefits of travel are staying in that local community and leading to positive outcomes for the people in this place. And so by traveling to Peru, you're not just having an amazing life-changing experience for yourself, you're also helping to improve the lives of the people in the destination as well. Once you've had that delicious meal, you'll start to learn more about the Inca. You'll visit a number of different Incan sites, including Pisac. And they call them Incan sites versus Incan ruins because, if you throw some thatch onto the roofs of these buildings, if you start planting some crops in these terraces, then people could return and live here as well. So I prefer using the term Incan site to Incan ruin because these are not ruined structures. They are UNESCO World Heritage Sites, which means that you're not able to live in them. But you do have the chance to really explore the amazing stonework and building structures that the Inca were able to put together. Ollantaytambo is another real highlight. It is an inhabited Incan city, so the lower portion of what was the Incan city is still inhabited today. And then you can see kind of the UNESCO World Heritage Site in the background there. You hike up those little steps, and usually we take a break halfway through and look back towards the beautiful storehouses that the Inca built before reaching the top and looking at the different temples and structures at the very top of Ollantaytambo. And this is where you'll be spending the night before heading on the Lares Trek, a really beautiful way, a fantastic way of learning about the natural wonders of this part of the world and hikes in the region. That's a shot taken just outside of the campsite the first night. So you're in the shadow of that beautiful glacier-topped mountain while you're there. The Lares Trek itself is in the same region as the Inca Trail hike. It's just slightly, it's over the other side of the mountain range to the north of the Urubamba River. It's a 3-day trek where you reach a higher total altitude than you do on Inca, but it's just a really fantastic way of visiting the region and hiking through. And there are a few benefits to hiking the Lares Trek. I'll go through the day by day just so you guys know what you're getting yourselves in for when it comes to the hiking. The first day is an easy day. Yes, there's a 550-meter elevation gain, but you really don't feel it as you're hiking. Just a couple hours hike in the morning before stopping for lunch, and then a couple hours in the afternoon before you reach the Planetara-supported campsite. You know, you're going through these little towns, these communities. You're learning about what life is like in this part of the world. This is where we stopped for lunch. You know, pitched a tent, had a delicious meal cooked by your porters and your cooks on the trail. The food is fantastic. It's amazing what our porters can put together and our cooks can put together on a camp stove. So don't worry, you will be well fed throughout this, often with soups to start to keep you hydrated, and then nutritious and filling meals, but not too filling because, you know, you're going to be doing some more hiking in the afternoon. A lot of the gear on the Lares Trek is going to be carried by our herdsmen, our animals in the region. So yes, llamas are pack animals. And then you've also got some mules that'll be helping to carry the gear with you. So you only have to carry your backpack, your water, you know, your camera, some snack food, and some wet weather gear just in case. All of the rest, the tents and roll mats and all that stuff, and sleeping bags will be carried by these happy creatures. And you'll be meeting the people along the way. So it's really great compared to the Inca Trail, a much more culturally immersive trip, learning and meet about what life is like for the people who live in this part of the world, meeting the people who are herding the llamas and their families. And then, you know, having the chance to stay in our Planetara supported campsite. You'll notice that that's a very new building that's been built just in this image. We've only just started working with this small community for a number of years, but already the proceeds are starting to lead to, you know, improvements in the construction and level of construction for the houses in the region. So the campsite that you stay at that first night is supported in partnership with the local community. There are showers there. You can have a solar thermal shower. There's actual toilets, unlike on the Inca Trail. So it's a little bit more cushy than hiking Inca. And then the next day is the hard day. So Lares is an easy day, a hard day, and a lazy day. The hard day is pretty hard. You're looking at a 1,000-meter elevation gain in the first half of the day. And so, you know, to hike 3 kilometers in 3 hours tells you a little bit about the altitude and the steepness of this trail. And then 2.5 kilometers the next 2 hours before reaching the peak, summiting the pass, and then you head down the other side in the afternoon. So it is a lot of this. It is absolutely beautiful. Slow and steady wins the race. You are at extreme altitude, so you take your time. There's lots of time to get to the campsite at the end of the day, and it's really just about enjoying the absolutely beautiful landscapes that you have in the region, slowing down and marveling at the natural wonders that we have on the face of planet Earth. And then, of course, summiting, getting over the pass. We had a little bit of snow when we were up there, so I would definitely recommend layers when you are hiking in Peru at any time of year, because it can be a little bit cooler at high elevation. So make sure you're packing your toques as well. And then this is where we stopped for lunch at the end of that pass, that second day. And so the weather was much better a little bit lower down. And you can see the route that you're taking for the rest of that second day and then into day 3, walking down into the Urubamba Valley and down towards Ollantaytambo. And that was the campsite at the end of the second day as well. So, you know, a beautiful place to spend some time to hike in the region and learn what life is like for the people of the Sacred Valley. Day 3 is super easy. You're just hiking down into Urubamba, and we finish at about lunchtime, and then we transfer you to Ollantaytambo to then catch the train up to Aguas Calientes, where you have the chance to check into the hotel, have a hot shower and a cold beer and a celebratory meal, and a good night's sleep before you know, heading up to Machu Picchu the next day. There is a lot to do in Aguas Calientes. There are the hot springs while you're there to enjoy. There's a few different hikes you can do in the region. You can head down to the butterfly sanctuary as well, that's in Aguas Calientes. There's a gigantic market as well. Although the Women's Weaving Co-op and the Andean Experience are the best places to get souvenirs of clothing and tapestries, if that's what you're looking to do. And then, of course, one of the highlights of the trip, getting up in the morning the following day and having your guided tour of Machu Picchu. It'll probably be about an hour and a half to 2 hours for the guided tour. And then you'll have a couple of hours afterwards to explore at your own pace as well. To go to the Inca Bridge, if you want to look at the back door entrance to Machu Picchu. It is a relatively narrow path with quite the drop. And so if you have vertigo, like the lady on the left-hand side there does, who was part of our trip, there is ropes that can help to get you to the Inca Bridge. I really highly recommend hiking to this part of the site. It's just a really great aspect and view to see the rest of Machu Picchu from. And then, after you've had your time at Machu Picchu and a delicious lunch, we then pop you back on the train to back to Ollantaytambo, and then transfer back to Cusco, where the trip will finish. And there are lots of additional activities you can add on to the end of your trip. If you want to hike Rainbow Mountain, we do operate that now. We can book that for you while you're in destination. If you want to go up to Sacsayhuaman, the last stand where the Inca fought the conquistadors at their fortress just outside of Cusco. Massive stone monoliths there that you can marvel at. There's so much to see and do in Cusco. Speak to Laurie if you want to spend a bit more time there and book in some additional activities, as I know that she's going to be putting together a few things for different people. So that's a kind of a quick introduction to this itinerary for you in Peru. As you can tell, I wish I was there right now. I really love every aspect of this trip, and there really is so much to the region. So thank you guys for spending the time to learn a little bit more about this itinerary with G-Adventures and the group that Laurie is putting together with us.
Thanks very much, Gary. And something else I wanted to mention, some people might be saying, why should I go on a group? Why can't I just fly into Peru and do all this myself? The Peruvian government, just like G-Adventures, cares a lot about their history, and they're really limiting the amount of people that can do certain things. As for instance, visiting Machu Picchu. And now, if you go on with a group tour like this with G-Adventures, you're guaranteed that you're going to see all these sites. If you just go on your own, you might not be able to get in and get to see all this stuff, and you're not going to have somebody that's from there showing you everything that is important to be seen, not just on a fly-by-night on your own. And if you saw our other recording about why travel with G-Adventures, they're a small group. So you're not going to get lost in the crowd. You're going to really be able to immerse yourself in the culture and what Peru can offer you, and you're not going to miss anything.
Yeah, I'd love to back that up and say, there are real benefits to working with a tour operator and going as part of a small group. I mean, at G, all our groups max at 16. It's the most people that will take on a trip with us. So you're not part of a big crowd. You're not filling up these ancient sites. And you have a local guide, or with the Nat Geos, a couple local guides, people who've been born and raised in the region, who know the lay of the land, who know the culture and the history, because they're nerd in it and have been brought up in it. And there's just no better way to learn about a place. And also just, packing it all in, right? I mean, I went through a lot of different Incan sites and destinations and hiking in the region. It just, we have a large number of people who travel to the region with us every year. This is not our first rodeo, as it were. And so, just to have everything taken care of logistically, and to, have that camping be as comfortable as possible, and know that you're helping the people along the way. There's just so many benefits to working with a tour company when you're in this region. And then, to work with a travel agent like Laurie and have her help you with the little things. There's 101 reasons to book with a travel agent, not least, talking about insurance, talking about pre and post, just getting everything set up for you so that, you don't have to worry about any of the little details while you're traveling, with G-Adventures on these itineraries. Really highly recommend, working with your local organizations, your local travel agents and agencies, because, at G, that's what we do. We work with local providers, we work with local people in destinations around the world. And that really does start with supporting your local travel agents as well.
And the one other thing I wanted to mention, for those people that are interested in this trip, but can't hike, don't like to hike, whatever the case may be, there is one option that you can take a scenic train, and you'll just miss the camping part, but you'll still be able to do all the other exciting parts of this itinerary.
Yeah, we have the Cusco stay option. So the chance to spend more time in Cusco. There's no additional cost to this. We put you up in the same hotels. And then you have the chance to explore a little more of the Sacred Valley as well. There's a couple other Incan sites that we take you to when you're doing the Cusco stay version. And so going to Moray and learning about agriculture and kind of the basis of the Incan Empire. And then also Las Salinas, the salt mines of the region as well. So just, yeah, there's lots of different options while you're in Peru. And, I often meet people who have hiked in the region. And if you're not a hiker, take the train. It's a great option as well. But if you are a hiker, then the Lares trek is astounding. It's beautiful.
Perfect. Thanks again very much, Gary. And if anybody has questions, please feel free to reach out to me. If I don't have the answer, I can definitely get one from Gary. Thanks again, everybody, for joining us.
Thanks, Laurie.